Our Austrian Grand Prix F1 driver ratings. There was a rather large change in the result, or at least not the biggest of changes, but there was a lot of penalties handed out.
Hell of a lot of penalties, yeah. 1,200 moments that they were looking into, weren't they? I think it was Katie Fairman put it on Twitter, actually, that's like 16 times a lap. Madness on average, so crazy amount to look into. The FIA even basically said to Austria, look, you need to really think about changing the circuit because it's ridiculous, and then handed Esteban Ocon a bunch of penalties just to make your biggest flop prediction even more savage.
Right, let's get into the driver ratings and start with Logan Sargent, Logie Bear. He started the sprint in 20th, finished 18th, and started the race in 18th and finished 13th. And just before I go into my rating, this man has catapulted up the driver's standings from 20th to 19th with that 13th place finish. So I'm going to give him 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for Logie Sarge, his best ever finish. You might be thinking that's quite high, Matt, for a 13th place finish, but we're taking into account, this 7 out of 10 is taken into account, this is Logie Bear. This is a rookie. And this was his most promising performance. You look throughout the race and you were like, oh, Logie's up there. He was running in the points for a little bit before he stopped, and he was doing all right.
Yeah, I've gone for a 6 out of 10 for Logan Sargent. Not quite been as
because
generous.
He's now not a P20 merchant, Tommy, and he's a P19 merchant now.
Exactly. He had a good race, much more solid. Obviously, he's got the upgrades now. Obviously, had an awful sprint, but in terms of the actual race itself, didn't do too badly in comparison to Albon, who's having a very good season.
We now go to Alex Albon. Started the race in 10th and finished 11th.
I have gone for the same as his teammate, 6 out of 10. I think Albon had an all-right race, but I think it's a missed opportunity for Williams, and he said that himself, that it's one of those tracks that should suit Williams in theory, and he seemed a bit disappointed that he didn't get any points. Yeah, Williams are looking all right now, but maybe a bit of a missed opportunity for Alex, who's been driving well, but missed opportunity.
Yeah, definitely better if you compare to what Williams were achieving at the start of the year. I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for Alex as well, same as Logie on my side. Yeah, it was unfortunate for him to not score points. I think there was definitely a mistake made in that sprint. You know, not to say that I know the exact tyre degradation of his intermediates, but we all know the characteristics of that Williams. I know, right? Maybe a point or two was definitely flushed down the toilet. Nyck de Vries now started the sprint 14th, finished 17th, started the race in the pits, finished 17th. I'm going to go with a 3 out of 10 for Nyck de Vries. He finished the race, positive, finished both races, double positive. Had an incident with Magnussen though. Perhaps there's a bit of pressure spilling over there. He did make a couple of mistakes, I seem to remember, as well in the races. It's not a step forward. I have to take into account a little bit that the AlphaTauri is not great, but it was just another very just subpar weekend for Nyck de Vries, and he's running out of time. The summer break is approaching, and that's when they'll make the decision.
Yeah, I've also gone for a 3 out of 10. Not a good weekend at all for Nyck de Vries. Not particularly fast, and getting in incidents, and like you say...
And getting penalty for track limits as well.
And penalties for track limits. Yeah, it's not going well for him.
Let's seamlessly move to YUKI Tsunoda, who started the sprint in 13th, finished 16th, started the race in 16th, finished 19th.
This hurts, but I've gone for a 2 out of 10 for YUKI Tsunoda. This is painful because Yuki, we've been praising all year that he's this new driver, he's so much more sensible, he's mature, and we saw the old YUKI Tsunoda of taking off your front wing, being a bit erratic, getting loads of track limit penalties. With Perez under pressure, Yuki needed to keep delivering and showing that he is this amazing driver and keep that hype up. And dare I say, he's taken a couple of steps backwards now, because that was just such a Yuki of old race where he's just kind of a bit all over the place.
I completely agree. 2 out of 10 for me as well. It is very much that YUKI Tsunoda that we thought he'd outgrown. Yeah, a really poor weekend. Perhaps it is just the pressure building up on both the drivers in some way. Maybe Yuki, we know he's a fiery personality. When he's not getting results, that's when his testament is really tested. Yeah, not a good weekend. We now go to Nico Hulkenberg. Started the sprint 4th, finished 6th. Started the race 8th. Did not finish because of a technical issue. I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Nico Hulkenberg. Amazing in qualifying. I mean, how he is lugging that Haas to 4th for the sprint and 8th for the race is something that really needs to be spoken about more. Unfortunately, the Haas is quite literally a donkey in the race. That it is a donkey that doesn't have any kind of measure over their tyre wear. My God, the minute any sort of tyre wear kicks in, they just fall off a cliff.
Yeah, I've gone for a 9 out of 10 for Hulkenberg as well. It was a brilliant weekend, to be fair. Even with the DNF, Hulk was absolutely brilliant in the sprint. His qualifying is phenomenal at the moment. Nico has been putting that Haas where it shouldn't be. Good stuff from Nico Hulkenberg.
In this video, we have partnered with Extra, who create better gear for life on the go. So what can Extra wallets offer you? Extra is known for inventing the first trackable wallet, and now they're on a mission to upgrade the rest of your carry essentials. Right, I want to show you one of the products, the aluminium card holder, which stores up to 12 cards and cash. And get this, press this button, boom, cards come out so beautifully you can select whichever one you want, put them back in your pocket, off you go. It also blocks RFID or wireless theft, so no sneaky thieves will be getting access to cards in here. And finally, Tracker. The solar-powered tracking device lets you track your wallet's location from your phone. Use the two-way ringing feature or receive separation alerts. 2 hours in the sun equals 3 months of charge. Enjoy up to 25% off using our code MP1T or use the link on screen and in the description. Let's now move to Kevin Magnussen. Started the sprint 10th, finished 14th, started the race from the pit lane and finished 18th.
Gone for a 4 out of 10 for K-Mag. Yeah, not on his teammates' level. The only reason it's not like a 3 or a 2 is because he's not kind of gone off on his own or made a mistake or done something, but just not really much pace and a bit of a quiet race. Not much to say really, other than just not where his teammate was.
Yeah, I was going to give him a 3, but then you made a really good point. And also the fact is, you need to take into account De Vries sending him to the beach. So 4 out of 10 I think is fair for K-Mag, because of course that's going to put him on the back foot. But yeah, still no pace. 4 out of 10 is not something you're really going to be taking home and showing to your parents, is it? So I don't know what's going on with K-Mag at the moment. Perhaps it is just Nico in a really good groove. Let's move now to Lance Stroll, who started the sprint in 8th, finished 4th, started the race in 6th, finished 9th. I've gone for a 7 out of 10. I was going to go for 6, but I'm going to go for a 7 because he finished 4th in the sprint and beat Alonso and out-qualified Alonso, and that's something that, you know, he can take home to Lawrence and say, look, Dad, I beat a world champion, kind of. Yeah, it was an all right weekend for Lance. I think 7 out of 10 encapsulates that.
Yeah, gone for a 7 out of 10 as well. Fact that he out-qualified Alonso. To be fair, the way Lance is kind of, it's gone so far, I think he can be happy with his result. And he seems to be improving a little bit now.
We now go to Fernando Alonso. Started the sprint in 7th, finished 5th. Started the race in 7th, finished 5th.
Gone for a 7 out of 10 for Fernando Alonso. Bit of a quiet weekend for him, really, but I think he'd have absolutely taken 5th in both of the races with how far off Aston seemed. Fernando just not really there. A bit of a quiet race, but a quiet race for Fernando being P5 in an Aston Martin, if you said that at the start of the season. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah,
I've gone for a 7 out of 10 as well for Fernando. I do love the fact that he gave Alpine penalties, or his team did at least. But yeah, it's a shame. I'd love to see Aston back at Silverstone, although who knows, will they be good at Silverstone? It genuinely seems like a lottery at the moment. Now let's look at the back of the field. Valtteri Bottas. Sorry, Valtteri. Started the sprint in 19th, finished 20th, and started the race in 14th, finished 15th. Gone for a 4 out of 10. Another anonymous sort of race. He got obviously lost part of his M plate, didn't he, during the Grand Prix, TSUNODA being incredibly aggressive. Valtteri is too chill at the moment for my liking, and perhaps that's the way he wants to go. He's turning into a Kimi Räikkönen.
I was literally about to say that. You just literally stole that from my brain that I was about to say. Yeah, I've gone for a 4 out of 10 as well for Bottas. It wasn't a particularly good weekend. You know, had a spin in qualifying. The sprint was awful. And then in the race, weirdly, it did look like he was kind of mixing up with a few cars sometimes in the midfield, and a rare sight of Bottas actually racing and passing someone.
We now go to ZHOU GUANYU. Started the sprint in 16th, finished 19th. Started the race in 17th, finished 12th.
Gone for a 6 out of 10 for ZHOU GUANYU. Kind of a normal, kind of anonymous alpha race. It would be a 5, but he's getting a bonus point from me because he was the only driver not to get a single, not even like a penalty or a warning. Like literally, he did not track extend once. Fair play, ZHOU GUANYU, because you proved our theory that you can do it. All these drivers saying, no, it's really hard. ZHOU GUANYU proved it is possible. So well done.
I love it. Yeah, because I've gone for a 6 out of 10 as well. And that was another bit of my thinking was, he didn't get a warning, so therefore he deserves an extra point. But on the flip side of that, is he pushing hard enough? Why has he not got one extension? You basically get 3 free Joker places. It's not a lap, is it? It's like a Joker extend. Like, you've got your tokens, use them. Well done, ZHOU GUANYU, though. Congratulations. But then he also proved that you can't score points without track extending. We now go to Oscar Piastri. Started the sprint in 17th, finished 11th. Started the race in 13th, finished 16th. I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Piastri this weekend. I know he didn't have the upgrades, but at the same time, really not particularly good weekend for him. He was pretty much meandering at the back. It was weird. We just kind of blinked and then he was down in 19th. Yeah, Oscar will not be too happy to compare himself to his teammate this weekend.
No, I've gone for a 4 as well. It wasn't very impressive, but I know he didn't have the upgrades, but he's still maybe a lot slower. And we know Lando, I've said so many times, is an absolute goat around Austria, but still, you'd expect
good as well
Piastri.
because there's mountains, isn't there? So like being a goat
helps at Austria.
I'm so sorry. We now go to Lando Norris. Started the sprint in 3rd, finished 9th. Started the race in 4th, finished 4th.
I've gone for a 10 out of 10, which makes me a bit mad because obviously he didn't score in the sprint and maybe could have done a bit better there. But I think he was unfortunate to get caught up putting that McLaren where it shouldn't really be. Even with new upgrades, I think the upgrade, the bigger upgrade is Lando at Austria because he always does so well. Really, really good. And a worthy driver of the day as well.
Absolutely. 10 out of 10 from me as well. I don't think that's too high of a grade for Lando, especially hauling that McLaren from where it was at the beginning of the year to finishing 4th is a momentous achievement. So well done, Lando, 10 out of 10. As we now go to Pierre Gasly, started the sprint 12th, finished 15th, started the race 9th, finished 10th. I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for Pierre Gasly. Of course, he got a penalty at the end, didn't he, which dropped him down from 8th. Did he finish 8th or 9th? I can't remember, but he definitely dropped down to 10th. But still, scored a point. Was better than Ocon. A better weekend for Gasly, at least in the race. I don't think the Alpine was actually that good this weekend. So
no, I've gone for a 6 out of 10. I think it was just a bit of a mediocre weekend for Alpine. The car didn't look that great, but 1 point when you've got like a sprint and a race is kind of an all right performance.
Yeah, we now go to Esteban Ocon. Started the sprint 9th, finished 7th. Started the race 12th, finished 14th.
I've gone for a 4 out of 10 for Ocon. It's difficult because, Ocon's finished the sprint in 7th, so actually got a good amount of points. Well, I say good amount of points, more than his teammate. But then the race, I think I do have to dock him points for just the kind of embarrassment of not staying on the track and, seeing memes about like Ocon forgot he had penalties on and things like that. It's crazy that he managed to do it that many times. Maybe even crazier than the FIA didn't notice. Maybe Alpine are like we always joke, are the most anonymous team ever and no one was watching them. So yeah, gone for a 4 out of 10.
I've gone for a 5 out of 10, just purely because I was going to give him lower, but he scored more points than Gasly. How the hell am I going to give him a 5, but Gasly a 7? But then, on the flip side of that, to have, I believe, 17 of the 71 laps deleted is pretty good going. Oh, but then he had such a good battle in the sprint. No, 6 out of 10. I'm giving him a 6 and I'm docking him a point because, well, maybe 2 even because of his shocking behaviour in the race. We're a 6 out of 10 because his battle with Leclerc and Norris, wasn't it, in the sprint was
I forgot that was actually really good.
Absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best
5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 for me, 5 out of 10 for Tommy, because, we have to give some weight to the sprint, especially if he scores more points than Gasly, but also, docked points because he has the most penalties in a Grand Prix weekend ever now. So well done. We now go to Lewis Hamilton. Started the sprint in 18th, finished 10th. Started the race in 5th, finished 8th. I've gone for 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, he had that sprint issue, or the sprint qualifying issue, which, we've already spoken about Verstappen, etc., and how they were both doing slightly. Well, I mean, Lewis was kind of unintentional. Max was a professional foul, but not even a foul, like just, you're not coming through. Sorry, mate. I started my lap. And then also in the race, of course, he got a 5-second penalty within 17 laps. So he had Ocon 17 laps deleted and Lewis Hamilton 17 laps and he's got a penalty. That is me picking up the F1 game for the first time in a while at strict corner cutting, and then you just see it pop up and you're like, it's flashback time. You seemed like he was quite frustrated, actually, throughout the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I've gone for a 6 out of 10 as well. I think it was not Hamilton's best weekend in a Formula 1 car, to say the least. In the race, there were moments as well where I feel like Hamilton maybe just does need to be a bit. I do find myself going, come on, Hamilton, just send it up the inside. Because, it happened a few times where he kind of backed out quite early out of moves and things. Yeah, very disappointing weekend for Hamilton, has to be said. Very not like the season he's had at all.
Let's go to George Russell now. Started the sprint in 15th, finished 8th, and started the race in 11th, and finished 7th.
Yes, I've gone for a 6 out of 10 as well. He wasn't on the pace of Hamilton, obviously got more points than Lewis in the end, but difficult quali again. I thought was George's big strong point.
Mr. Saturday.
Mr. Saturday and all that. Where's that gone? Yeah, picked up a decent amount of points, but really Mercedes were just a bit lackluster, weren't they, for the whole weekend, really?
They certainly were. I've gone for a 6 out of 10 as well for George. It is weird saying it out loud that he scored more points than Hamilton when it felt like the whole time Hamilton had more speed and whatnot. But of course, he had that difficult sprint, managed to make up to 10th, but there's no points for that. Whereas George obviously scored a point in the sprint and then finished 7th in the race as well after the penalties being applied. I'm sure he'll be very happy to come out of Austria and finish 7th after a pretty torrid weekend. Let's go to Carlos Sainz now. Started the sprint in 5th, finished 3rd, and started the race in 3rd, finished 6th. What does one rate Carlos Sainz for this? I've gone for a 7 out of 10 for Carlos. He did look faster than Leclerc at the beginning, and I will also still continue to back my theory that he only looked faster because he had his rear wing flap open for most of the lap, because that's the beauty of Austria. But he was on a level with Leclerc, absolutely. Then had the amazing wheel-to-wheel action with Perez. But then we found out he wasn't staying on the track, so he got penalty and then another penalty, post-race penalty that was, which dropped him down to 6th in the end. So I can't give him any higher than 7, as much as it was really enjoyable to watch. He finished 6th.
Yeah, I've gone for a 7 out of 10 as well, and it's really annoying because it's the same copy and paste every Carlos rating for the last 4 races where I go, it's so annoying because he's really, he looks like he's taking it to Leclerc now. If you forget about insert incident here. In terms of pace-wise, he can be very happy. He just needs that weekend where it all comes together and there's no mistakes or penalties. Yeah, it's a shame for him.
Okay, let's talk about Charles Leclerc now. Started the sprint in 9th, finished 12th. Started the race in 2nd, finished 2nd.
I have gone for an 8 out of 10. If you take away the sprint, he's probably getting a 9 or a 10 because it's the best he can do. He's qualified 2nd. He's beat a Red Bull in qualifying and on the track, but his sprint was really bad, really awful, that pops him down a couple of grades. So it's an 8 out of 10.
As a resident Leclerc fanboy, I am also locking in an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it was a fantastic race from him. He did everything he could do. But yeah, his sprint was something to forget, but still solid 18 points for Charles. So yeah, 8 out of 10. He can be very happy with that result, and great to see him back on the podium. Anyway, Sergio Perez started the sprint 2nd, finished 2nd, started the race in 15th, finished 3rd. I have gone for an 8 out of 10 for Sergio Perez. Didn't make Q3. It was... I mean, if this was the only time he didn't make Q3 this season, you'd let him off, because the track limits were crazy. We had other drivers suffering with track limits, and it was incredibly marginal. However, it was 4 on the bounce, and he had time to spare. That being said, he bounced back pretty damn well. It's better from Perez. It's more what he should be doing, especially if he's doing a recovery drive. But I hope for his sake he's not doing a recovery drive anytime soon in the next few races, because he needs to sort out his qualifying. But thankfully for him, he had 2 qualifying sessions this weekend, so he could not mess up one of them. And that's what he did for the sprint.
I've gone for an 8 out of 10 as well. I was umming and ahhing about a 7 out of 10, but when you look at the results on face value, you kind of go, 7 out of 10 is really hard for him finishing second in the sprint and third. But you do have to think that obviously the reason he's not getting a 9 or something is because he's made the mistake in qualifying that's put him on the back foot. The Red Bull Max is unbelievable in it, so you think that, you know, anything lower than second is not a good result. Perez hasn't been able to be anywhere near Max, even in that sprint where it was like level playing field. Finally, we've got Perez at the front again, and, you know, bit of battling at the start. Max says, no, you're all right, shoves him off, and then goodbye 20 seconds up the field. I'm now convincing myself a 7. Sorry, a 7. He's in a rocket ship. I've got to think about the gaps as well. And
Yeah,
I've also read him too high later earlier in the season.
We call it a rocket ship, but I think there is partly we need to give Verstappen credit for the fact that it isn't like a arrive and drive kart. You can't just get in the Red Bull and finish second.
Well, Perez is showing that, yeah.
Yeah, and Perez is showing that. Let's not forget, Perez is not a terrible driver by any stretch of the imagination. So, I'm going to stay with an 8 because it's the highest rating he's had in quite a while from me.
Oh, I wish we could do halves. No, go on 8. Yeah.
The editor's going to be fuming with you. Okay, we now finally go to Max Verstappen. Started first for the sprint, finished first in the sprint, started first in the race, finished first in the race.
10 out of 10. What else is there to say? Didn't lead every lap, of course, which is rare these days, which is a mad thing to think about. But yeah, perfect weekend, really. And the audacity to pit on the last lap to get fastest lap and make it an absolutely perfect weekend and grab all the points, even when it was a bit of a risk, just shows that he is playing F1 on easy mode.
He certainly is. I've gone for a 10 out of 10 as well. I don't know how you can give him any other grade. Yes, he didn't lead the race for 5 laps, but he had to pit at some point, and we got a battle for the lead for all of about a lap, which was lovely. Max is just unbelievable, and just, you know, continuing on from my point that Perez is struggling, which shows that Red Bull is not as easy as everyone thinks it is. It is an unbelievable car, don't get me wrong, but Max Verstappen is at one with that machinery and needs to be applauded for what he's doing, because he does seem unstoppable. He can't win every race, can he, Tommy?
No, he won't.
He can't win every race. Okay, let's now move finally to our P1 of the race, or of the weekend, and I'm going for Lando Norris because we've lauded Max Verstappen enough, and one day he will win P1 when no one else has got 10 out of 10s. But there is another driver with a 10 out of 10, it's Lando Norris, and amazing weekend from him.
I have gone for Max just because Lando had a bit of a difficult sprint. And also I feel like it's going to get to the end of the season, and I've gone, well, just to be different, and then you actually look back and you've not given it to Max once. So.
That is pretty much it. My final thoughts are, yes, please come and say hello to us at the British Grand Prix if you see us, because we will be around Friday, Saturday and Sunday, milling around fan zones and all kinds of stuff. So we'll also do a few meetups. We'll arrange something on our social media to, if Elon Musk hasn't killed Twitter, that'll be a good start. But yeah, we'll arrange a few things over the weekend. Of course, on that Sunday, we'll say hello to some people after we've done our main stage stuff, but on the Friday and Saturday we'll be around. So that is pretty much it. See you next time, everybody. Lots of love. Bye.
That is Frank.
That licking noise was absolute. That was in my ears and brain.